Good morning, Chopsticks Alley. We are so happy to be having breakfast with you today. So we have a special show this morning, Saturday morning. We're so glad you joined us. I'm still in my pajamas, right? Well, my robe, anyways, is warm and cozy. And I'd like to introduce our producer, Tassi Alabastro.
Hello, I go to sleep in collared shirts. No, I'm just kidding. Good morning, everybody. Hello.
And then our special guest, we have Esther Young, who is joining back with us again. And then Michael Jung Wing. You may not remember who he is. I think Michael, you might tell people who you are again.
Yeah. I'm a patent attorney by day, but then a nightlife San Francisco drag queen by night. Juicy Lou Realness, and I'm also on the Twitch chatting, so you can see me. Juicy Lou Realness is my Instagram and Twitch and Venmo, and you can DM me all day. It's cool. But I was in a big blonde wig before.
Yes,
It
yes.
was
So you might not
glorious.
recognize. You might not recognize.
Yes, we asked our friends to join us again because they have a lot to say, and I think Saturday morning, even though I don't know if I'm ready for everything they want to say, I think we're all like, is it too early? You know, it is during lockdown time, so I don't wake up normally like I used to early, or it's like all hours are no longer exist, right? So, remind you of what Chopsticks Alley is. So, we're a group that shares food, art, topics are important for today. We do everything. So if you know a little bit about Chopsticks Alley, or just look us up, chopsticksalley.com, chopsticksalleyart.org, and we're everywhere, right, Tassi?
It actually surprised me when I got added or tagged in Chopsticks Alley Pinoy. And I was like, how big is this team?
Yeah, we also have a Chopsticks Alley Pinoy branch because, a lot of our folks who work with us are Filipinos, so Filipinas. So why not create another one, right? Anyway, so let's first of all, what are you guys having for breakfast? Anyone?
Yeah.
A bento box.
A bento box, but a very American breakfast with my oatmeal, blueberries, strawberries. Short story, last night all our power went out, so I wasn't sure how the food was going to look this morning, but it tastes okay. I feel okay. I might have to poop later, but
I would be more concerned if you were not going to poop later.
Exactly.
So good stuff.
So welcome to Chopsticks Alley. We talk about everything, including poop.
Yeah.
Well, a good bowel movement is always a good
Yeah.
thing, right? So
What does that thing say? It says
what is happening? What are you drinking there, Tassi?
That's bananas. I'm having coffee. I'm having my morning coffee.
Sure. That's what just because you put it in a cup.
Yeah. Also, there's Kahlua in it, so
So
well, I had some oatmeal, so it's instant oatmeal earlier, but I'm having a lovely tea from a yogi tea that I love. It's got a little bit of caffeine in it. I try to switch over from coffee because I was drinking those little pod things, but I was just like, it's just bad for the environment.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll just drink tea. It's fine. So spill the tea with me.
You guys are eating so healthy. Tassi, you're just drinking
no.
No,
no. Well, I wish my girlfriend made eggs and bacon and like sautéed some onions and mushrooms this morning, and put some sriracha on that over rice because that's my oatmeal, right? It's rice.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm surprised that Esther and Michael are eating like an American breakfast. Like I don't eat American breakfast. Like cereal and milk, it's like, what the hell is that? Like that's so bizarre. Like why do you take something crunchy and put milk all over to make it mushy? And
flavored milk. I get the argument for both. The only reason I stopped doing cereal is because I stopped stocking milk. Because often it's like the Goldilocks thing where if you buy the gallon, it just feels too large for one person. Often, for me anyway. And then for the small one, I always felt like 2 meals and it was done. So I was like, you know what? I just won't stock until I get the perfect size at some point. Size
To be
matters.
honest,
Size
like
matters.
a soggy cereal in cold milk doesn't sound good to me, and the whole oatmeal thing was an adjustment, like a health thing I've taken on because my boyfriend does it.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I do miss like a hot like juk in the morning.
Yes.
Something
Mm.
that's warm and warms you up from the inside. You don't have to eat for it for a
Yeah.
while.
Well, you can make hot oatmeal hot, but it's just the
Yeah.
texture. Like,
Yeah.
why? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I tried, but
is it
no.
is it texture in the morning or texture? Because most of our cuisine in Asian culture is texture based, right? Like we have Filipinos have arroz caldo, which is basically rice porridge.
Hmm.
That texture doesn't bother me, and yet when I do oatmeal, there's that weird like.
There's a crunch still in the oatmeal. There's like an edge, like you can taste each oat. You can feel each
Oh.
oat. I can't do that.
Well, if you microwave it long enough, it's soft. It's fine. um, it's just something that warms you up, and you don't really. I actually like Esther. I'm kind of new to eating oatmeal because it's just very quick. I have the instant oatmeal. It's
Yep.
about 2 minutes in the microwave, and just quick and easy.
Mhm.
But if I had the breakfast of choice and I had all the choices, I would have like fresh fruits. Like my mother would say, Michael, eat fresh fruit. Like, in the morning, or bacon and eggs. Oh yeah, strawberries.
Oh yeah, I'll do bacon and eggs.
Wait,
Um,
bacon's not a fruit?
Oh wait.
Oh, it totally is.
This whole time.
Yeah, I don't even eat breakfast. I that's just my body, right? So, but then when I learned the whole American, like, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, I tried
Mhm.
that, and I'm like, no, it's BS. It makes you gain weight and all this. So I don't eat till noon.
Oh.
Yeah. So
But
I'm
then-
on this fasting diet thing where you eat at noon, you end like around 6 or 7, and then you don't eat again till noon.
Yeah.
It helps me maintain my weight, but that's just my body anyway. So
Yeah.
Is that what intermittent fasting is?
yes, I do drink coffee, but there's nothing in it. No creamer, no sugar, anything.
No Kahlua.
No Kahlua.
You're doing it wrong.
Well, treat yourself, Trammy. I don't know, like luxurious breakfast every now and then. Never hurt anybody.
Oh, I do, right? But I do it like it's just not. I don't know. Like I'm not ready to eat, So everybody's different. I think you got to do what's right for your body, and not necessarily what's being marketed as the hot thing of the day.
What's the first thing you put in your mouth in the morning?
Oh God, are we going there? This is not the Chopsticks Alley late night talk show.
It's 9 p.m. somewhere in the world. We're online. What's up, Dragon Theater?
Oh my God.
Is it a toothbrush? Is
Yeah.
that the answer?
There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, like
Mouthwash.
sometimes drinking water
Yeah.
jumpstarts
water.
your stomach for the morning.
Actually, for this whole past week, I made like a the meatloaf thing. I think
Yeah. Whatever.
yeah, the egg and pork sausage.
Oh.
Kinda-
Yeah, the Vietnamese.
Egg and
Yeah.
the meatloaf,
Yeah.
Jang hop or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I made a whole
Jung
bunch.
hap.
Yeah,
Jung hap.
Jung
Yes.
hap, yeah.
Yes.
And I ate that with rice, and so like, can you imagine
So
like waking up
good.
every day with fried fish
See?
sauce and that like savory
Oh,
umami
wake
feel?
you up, man.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah,
See, that's
good
breakfast. That's breakfast. That's
But I ran
oatmeal
out,
thing.
so I couldn't. Yeah.
No, y'all gotta stop with the oatmeal. I'm just saying.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
All right. So let's talk about something serious. Okay, so it's Asian Pacific American Heritage Month,
Mm-hmm.
and why does it even matter? I'd like to go over a little bit of history because you have to learn something that's part of your breakfast. Okay, so
Oh, nice.
yes, so always like most commemorative months, it originated with Congress. And it actually is to recognize contributions and influence of Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans in the history, culture, and achievements in the U.S. The month of May was chosen. Do you know why? Why May? Not because it's available.
Yeah.
Because it's available. It's because it was to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7th. In 1843.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, also May 10th, 1869. And so, of course, the majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigrants.
Right.
So there, see? Now you know why it's May.
Wow.
Justin Timberlake was onto something.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking because like I've been watching the Asian Americans on PBS and learning so much history. I know that like I feel like Vincent Chen, who was brutally murdered in 1982, I think. But his birthday is in May also, so I was like, oh, he would have been 65 this year. So that's kind of a cool thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a galvanizing moment for Asian Americans in the 80s. But to I don't know if you know, I don't know if everybody know this, but like the term Asian American is a invented identity, right? So it's kind of something that was started in the 60s, 1968, I think, in San Francisco State University, just down the road. They kind of created the term
Gators.
Asian Americans to sort of like create this identity, a solidarity. And I think every May, I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to sort of like, what does it look like to be a good Asian American today? So that's an interesting thing, I think.
Does it bother you that we have to be hyphenated? Asian American, African American.
So it's funny you mentioned that. There's a very short segment in season 1 of Jack Ryan where they're in France and the French lady says, that's the thing with you Americans. You hyphenate this. In France, you're either French or you're not. And I'm like, wow. I don't know. It just planted something in my head because I'm also not from here. I'm from American Samoa, which is a territory of America, and yet I didn't really grow up around a lot of like Asians in the same way. So I was wondering that too. Like I have a lot of friends here who identify as Asian American. I'm like, what is that? Like you said, Michael, like what does that look like? What does that mean exactly? Is it someone who's still in search of an identity? Is it what is it? Is it ever evolving?
Yeah,
Possibly?
I think it's, for me at least, it's trying to identify that a common shared struggle. And so like in America, it's mostly white dominated, and I know that we have probably white allies, but in at the end of the day, we're sort of struggling for like power politically, or in corporate America, you're still sort of like seen as the minority. And it's funny, one of my friends was saying, instead of people of color, I like to use the word people of the global majority, because the rest of the world is like more than these white people. But so it's just a way to sort of categorize people, and I don't know if for better or for worse, but to your point, American Samoa, a lot of them identify as Pacific Islanders,
Right.
And I would say Pacific Islanders are kind of a lot of times lumped in with Asian Americans and kind of seen as like one big monolith, where it's completely not. And the disaggregation of the data, AAPI data, is very important in our struggle. So it's just a way to understand our community, our struggles, the disparities in socioeconomic stuff.
Sure.
I don't know. I like to say big words when I'm drinking my tea.
Stop.
What's in that tea? Get that sponsorship. Delicious. Delicious?
It's delicious. Sorry.
No, I was like, ooh, salacious.
What do you think, Esther? I mean, you were how many generation Chinese? Is that what you are? I don't know what you are.
Well, yes, I'm in my 20s, so I guess 90s baby. And I was born here. And actually, a thing I don't think any of you know is I actually grew up in an extremely Chinese Christian environment, meaning that everybody at my school, from middle school to high school, was mostly Chinese American. And then it was a lot of international students too. So I didn't really have a sense of being a minority at all until I went to this Young Writers Workshop in Virginia when I was 16. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I'm one of the only people of color here. I'm the only Chinese person here in this camp of 200 other creative writers. But I loved it. I really loved being part of this creative community. And so I then had a sense that my own community of Chinese Christian Americans was not creative, and I had to go get out and experience the real world. And then you have this almost a cliche story of, you know, somebody who jumps really far in. But um,
Yeah.
I really like what Michael was saying, global majority. I really like the word diaspora as well because it
Mm.
acknowledges the movement of the people, like my parents who got me here, all of that. So,
Hmm. Well, I felt like because it's only a 5 episode series. Where are the Vietnamese? We're not mentioning them.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
episode 4
oh,
mostly.
okay, all
Yeah.
right. Maybe I didn't. I thought I think I only watched it up to episode 3, like after the Filipino farm
Oh,
workers.
yeah. It's right after that part.
Okay.
It's talked about, and also going into episode 5. But the thing that I love about the series, the Asian Americans on PBS, is that it's kind of the first ever. Well, it's just kind of crazy. Like over 150 years in America, and the first ever like kind of true history account, PBS version. The thing that I love the most though is like it looks at it pretty critically as like
Mm-hmm.
American imperialism and like the effects of colonialism, colonization, and then like the movement of the people, and then just kind of seeing like the same things happen over and over. Like I'm a second generation Vietnamese American, and I feel like my generation. So I'm the son of refugees. My parents came over in '75, and I feel like our generation is sort of the ones who are sort of like being active and politically like mobilizing, organizing a lot more than like my parents' generation. They were just kind of like as new immigrants to the U.S. just trying to figure it out, trying to survive, and so I think then you see that same kind of story being told with like second generation Japanese Americans, the Nisei Americans, went back in the 40s, like when they were being sent off to internment camps and going off to war. But it's similar things, but different, right? But, it's just, you see the same things happen over. And then you look at second generation Chinese Americans, and then now fourth generation Chinese Americans, like seeing the difference of their experience of the American experience. That's one thing that's really interesting that I think, well, I feel like I am just now coming around to sort of like seeing myself as a true Asian American, where the struggles of other folks in the community, including Pacific Islanders, including South Asians, including Muslim Americans. I'm none of those things, right? But at the same time, I feel the struggles and I take it on as my
Mm.
Mm. So I actually have yet to see the PBS special, so I need to get that on my list. Is it just on their website? Is it just on pbs.org or?
Yeah, it's free on the app. There's a
Uh-huh.
there's a PBS web app. There's if you have
What?
Roku or Apple TV or something, you can just
Sure.
download their app and it's free.
Uh-huh.
Also, I'm doing a special series because we have
What?
to, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know we're doing a special thing called, with GAPA, the Gay Asian Pacific Alliance. I'm the chair of GAPA, and the Rice Rockettes, which is the all API drag troupe here in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
We and super nerdy folks too, right? So we're kind of doing a teach-in and watch party, and we did them on the 3 Fridays. We just did one yesterday, the second one, but we showed one episode, and then we kind of have like a talk for like about an hour. And it's been a great conversation. We've had a good response, but our final conclusion is next Friday, and it's we're bringing, and I'll be in drag, and Rice Rockettes will be in drag, and we're showing episode 5, which is the Generation Rising, I think it's called, or maybe it's a new one, I don't know. But the last part, and just kind of like catching us up to like current day, and then also we're going to have special guests, Amy Suyoshi, who's the current dean of San Francisco State University. And she's a queer woman. She's like the expert in like queer Asian American history. And then also we're going to have Michelle Miao, who's a broadcaster, has the Michelle Miao Show. She's an amazing speaker. She has a show at the Commonwealth Club. She's a very well-known like broadcaster and moderator. So we're gonna have all those special guests plus like me and drag and
How do
Rice
people
Rockettes.
watch it? Is this happening online somewhere?
Yeah, it's gonna be on. Well, there's an Eventbrite. It's
Mm-hmm.
happening online on a Zoom webinar, so it's kind of more of a moderated feel. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll just have it. It's next May 29th. 6:30 is when we're gonna actually show PBS like episode 5 within the Zoom. So and then hopefully that's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's PBS, and then the 7:30 we're gonna have the panel part. So you can get it's on Eventbrite. It's on the channel, I think,
I did
in the
just post it
stream.
in channel. I did
Oh, good.
one of these.
Cool, thank you,
Ching, ching,
thank you,
ching.
Good, good,
Tassi.
Yeah,
good.
you're welcome. Chat. If you are now just following and now just tuning in, this is a mostly completely just hangout, improvised. No, I won't say improvised, but spur of the moment topic conversations that we're having. And so, if I'm a little lax on some of the links, it's because I'm looking for it. But welcome if you're now just joining us. Sorry, Esther, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to Emma for posting the link because I also have not seen the series yet. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's well done. I'm sure we're leaving out a whole bunch of different people. What I'm struggling with right now is I was trying to work with our staff on the Pinoy side to find someone who can share the Filipino perspective of the farm workers movement, because we hear about Cesar Chavez, right? But we
Mhm.
never hear about this Filipino perspective where
Larry Itliong, I think that's his
It
name.
yes,
Leong.
Yeah.
and I
I would say try and get a hold of Jeffrey Lowe because they're actually writing a play based on
ah
those guys. And I think he directed one at Theater First in the East Bay. So
okay.
there are people who have already tackled it. I just don't think because when you're in that work, sometimes you're headlong in it, and it's tough to kind of like reach out and like, hey, we're doing this thing, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have found
Yeah,
yourselves in that
I think
position.
I think we should, because I feel like there's this whole history we've not heard of, and I find it interesting in the PBS film where they mentioned the reason he's not as popular as Cesar Chavez was because of his personality. You
Yeah.
know, that he was rough and he looked tough, and I guess the American public was not ready for that, right? Where Cesar Chavez was very charismatic and he was like
Effusive.
friendly. Yeah, so they put him as the face of the movement. But behind the scenes, he did a lot for that movement. So it's
Well,
interesting.
and that's what we were talking about earlier. Chat, you weren't here for it since we were offline having this discussion about it's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil or the grease or whatever, or the person who's most extroverted gets kind of the shower of praise. And we can't forget the people who are behind the scenes who work tirelessly uh, helping maneuver obstacles and stuff like that. Despite the fact that they may be hard to work with, but they get ish done for the most part. Like
Like
better or
Tassi's
worse.
really hard to work with, but he gets
I'm the
it
worst.
done.
I am the worst.
Yeah, but it's really amazing because without Larry Iliang and the Filipino farm workers, they did a boycott of grapes for 5 years. 5 years. That's a
Ooh.
long time. And
That
and
is.
I mean, yeah, I think that's unimaginable today. Can you imagine not having any kind of grape or wine or for 5 years? Like I don't know.
Well, I don't
No,
know.
I
It
can't
might happen
imagine.
soon. Like, right now with the whole prices are going up on food. Have you guys noticed that? Do you guys
Yeah.
buy food? When was the last time you went grocery shopping? Anyway, so
Soon.
prices have gone up. And I am making your fish sauce delivery today, by the way.
Yes.
But I'm not going to Palo Alto, Esther. So you're coming down.
Let's just
Yeah.
Milpitas.
And it's because there's a shortage of workers.
Mm-hmm.
I also heard that they had to cull like millions of chickens because there's nobody to help raise them. So it's better to sell them off as meat than as, eggs, whatever.
Sure.
Egg.
Egg
Whatever.
layers.
Yes, egg layers. And so they rather kill them off, sell the meat, than trying to collect eggs. And so eggs are getting expensive, right? And on it goes. So part of me is like, is this the apocalypse? What do you guys think? Is this going to really happen or no? Are we just going extreme here?
I don't think it's the apocalypse. Two, I think it's happening. And both exist at the same time. What do you guys think?
I think we have been adapting all this time, all of us. And it's really interesting trying to read, oh, how are restaurants going to change? How
Mm.
are, every theater, live theater. But I don't really think that we're going to be shocked more than we already have. I think we've always been adapting. And if we need to sit in like little booths with like plastic shields around us and then look up to see a mirror ceiling to see other people in the restaurant, then we're going to be like, okay, cool. Like,
Oh.
Is this fulfilling your fantasy, Esther? I don't know. Mirrors on the ceiling.
Okay.
Was
I
that
know that was oddly
TMI?
specific, and ceilings with mirrors do have a certain association. That's where you're going, Drowny. I actually read an article from Fast Company where like people who are like heads of organizations and restaurants are trying to predict what we might do to create a feeling of togetherness in these public spaces without endangering anyone's health. And
Mm.
the mirrored ceiling stuck out to me.
Can you
Of
imagine that
everything
on
she
a
remembered, she was like, "We have to install the mirrored
mirror
ceiling
ceiling?
when this ends."
Can you imagine that during an earthquake? How do you
Oh
make
my
that?
gosh, that would be a nightmare.
Just go underneath the table. It's fine.
Oh.
No, I actually I think that I think what to Esther's point is like the human civilization is very resilient.
Yeah.
And we as humans, we'll figure it out. Whatever needs to happen will happen. I love the idea that is thrown around. I don't know. There's like a city's basically expanding into the streets, like their restaurant footprint, and trying to like create more space and use the outdoor space, especially during the summer and the nice weather. I love that idea, and like less cars, and like the idea of slow streets. Like I know San Francisco is kind of slow to sort of roll that out, but I know Oakland has been doing it. A lot of cities around the world actually have been kind of creating more areas for people just to sort of incorporate the street more into like the running and walking and giving people space to get around. But
Yeah, I think we've always wanted that, but the city folks don't, allow that. But now I guess they are because of these issues. So that's a good thing that they're finally, relaxing on these restrictions and what you can do with sidewalks, right? But we've always wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of getting off the addiction of cars. To be honest, a lot of business owners are like, "Well, I need to have cars to come through so they have customers." But trying to get off of the idea, oh, people will come, more people will come if like there's actual foot traffic and people can get to your restaurant. I mean, but for sure, we're kind of having a lot of tensions with car culture, I guess.
Yeah.
But public transit is actually hurting a lot, to be honest, because of people trying to distance themselves and not take the bus. So public transit is actually facing a lot of shortfalls as the rest of the world. So to your point, is the world falling? Yes, it is, and it's kind of there's going to be a restructuring of what it means to exist and live and work and play, especially with all the big tech companies like Facebook and Twitter saying work from home permanently.
Exactly.
It's like, then why do we live here?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think there will be a lot of positive things that will come out of this. I'm actually looking forward to that. I just feel sorry for people who are from low income, or they are the essential workers, grocery workers, like all that. How, we can work from home and all this great stuff, and but what about them? What's going to happen to these families who don't have a lot to begin with, and prices going up, food prices,
Yeah, I mean, I think then we who are not necessarily in that position have a responsibility to pressure these corporations to be allies to them, right? To ensure that those who have to work in these situations are offered the benefits of that, right? A lot of them have children. What their children have to stay home. Who's gonna watch them? So. Yeah, it's I think you nailed it with what you said, restructuring, and that takes a massive effort. I feel, right. It can't just. I mean, yeah, you can have some sectors where it's like a couple people spearheading a project or whatever, but for the most part, a lot of these things get done when everyone gets in, and there's that like critical mass that happens. That has to happen, I think, for it to kind of shift the culture and the mindset. Because even when you're talking about cars, decreasing cars, like the idea that we went from really really solid cars to then going from like mass production factory. That was a mindset change too. That all kind of happened at one time, and so it required the country to do that. But could we go back the other way? You know.
Right. And adding on to what you say, when cars changed and we were all relying on them more, we developed this tolerance of what we can call traffic violence, car
Mm.
accidents. We're so like numb to it. We're like, it happens, too bad. It doesn't have to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
think.
looking forward to free transportation.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
that.
I was in Melbourne, Australia, right before all this happened, and uh, it's amazing. I mean, when you talk about sidewalk, all their restaurants. It's like every alley they've turned it into a restaurant, being outdoors, and they have this railway that runs through the town, and it's
Mm-hmm.
free. You just hop on, or
Love
is it
that.
free? I think it's free, or maybe you pay very little. I don't know. Anyways,
I'm a big fan of that. Yeah.
yeah, I know in Denver for sure they have this bus that runs through town
Oh.
for free, constantly for free.
Uh,
And
uh, the public transportation around here, because I went for a walk and I was looking at the signs, it had a list of basically like if you answer this yes or no, like basically do you get on the bus or not, and at the very bottom where it says no, it says what are you even doing here? Go home. Like there was so much sass on that comment. I was like yes. It's so good.
but okay, speaking of essentials, people outside, people are not wearing masks. People are not doing the 6 feet thing. It's everywhere. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, the thing is that I see people a lot of times when they're like running or they're cycling, they're not wearing masks. As far as when people, I guess it's all about your tolerance level
Mm-hmm.
on like and how like so the COVID pandemic is all about just kind of this existential fear, right? And what can you do to protect yourself? Very much like the AIDS crisis was in the 80s. And so like the gay community, I feel like has been sort of like, yeah, it's this thing you just have to acknowledge and accept and deal with. But I feel like the rest of the world is now feeling it. And so it's just a matter of your comfort level. And I feel like the word mask shaming part, I don't know if that's the best thing, but
Mask shaming.
mask shaming, yeah,
I'm not
like
okay.
saying like
Sure.
you're not doing it. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best thing, but also kind of, you know, I encouraging masks and the messaging out there that our political leaders. I am so in love with Nancy Pelosi and the way that she coordinates her masks. I don't know if you've seen it. She has like her mask and her like pantsuit. It was like magenta. It's gorgeous, like to see that compared with like our president, who's like, I don't want to wear a mask for anything. Like it's just it's this
Right.
constant like messaging issue. So.
Yeah, I feel like there's a conflict in messaging for sure.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
drove through San Juan Bautista, and it was full on as if nothing happened. Restaurants are open, people are sitting near each other,
Wow.
standing around. There's a bar there where usually the bikers hang out. They were all there, no masks, very close to each other. It's like nothing happened in San Juan Bautista. Okay, sorry if I'm calling you guys out and you get in trouble. But I was just there and that's what it looked like. And I was gonna get out of the car or something. I'm like, I'm not getting out of the car. I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it's not because, so part of me is saying, oh, I'm wearing a mask to protect the elders and the people around me. But at the same time, I don't want to get sick, because then if I get sick or I'm a silent but deadly carrier or whatever, then I'm going to give it to people that accidentally I'm exposed to, right? So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. There's too many conflicting messages, and I'm kind of tired of it.
I have these thoughts about what it feels like to wear a mask, and I'm just curious what you guys think, because earlier we were talking about how American culture rewards expression and everything, and how masks, totally like block your facial expressions. And if you want to really try, say you're like a frontline worker and you want to give a really good customer service experience, you have to exaggerate your vocal tones. use your eyes to like convey friendliness, and if you don't really do that, then you come across rude and demanding if you say, oh, please step 6 feet apart away from me, or like please don't come up to the glass. It's really interesting because like when I started working, my parents said like, oh, can you explain something to us? And so I started explaining it, and they were like, oh, we're so proud of you, you have your white voice. And you know what, but I'm like, okay, on one hand I'm like, that sounds so weird to say out loud, but I totally got it in the moment. I was like, oh, thanks, worked on it. That's the voice I use when I want to be professional, do presentations that I want to convey more. Then you might be able to tell if like this part of my face is covered.
Wow, yeah.
That's something to unpack for sure,
my
right
God.
there. Because like
I
Chappelle,
don't know if I'm ready for this. I need more coffee. Oh my God.
Chappelle has tackled that. That movie that was based, a Spike Lee movie.
Oh yeah,
right.
Black KKK, that one.
Sorry, the one.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
The whole the part of the conceit in that movie, spoiler alert, is that he works at a telemarketing, but he is ultimately more successful when he adopts like his white voice, and it's so crazy. And that thing you're talking about with the eyes. Hey, I teach acting classes. Just kidding. I don't want to play. Anyway, unpack. Yes, let's continue on that.
Yeah, it's true, right? Michael, you speak perfect English, but I totally have to put on my white voice.
Well, my mom says that I could speak like an American, and equating American with whiteness is definitely a thing that my mom does all the time. But I kind of try to switch it. It's like, okay, what is if Americans generally, which are mostly white Americans, kind of denote a value or kind of assimilation value. Like this is going back to the Asian Americans on PBS. Like there's a whole episode 3, I think, good Americans, what constitutes that. And so the way of adopting the culture and talking and being very expressive and speaking in a way that sounds very good to a white American ear, I guess. It's something that's interesting, but I find myself doing a lot of code switching. It's like when I'm around a lot of Asian Americans or more immigrants, I'm not afraid to sort of like have not broken English, but just kind of like be more relaxed about things.
Relaxed, yeah.
More relaxed versus like when I'm around the lawyers and I speak in a very formal, like your honor and this and that. It's different. So I don't know. I would argue that it's kind of, you have a lot of context and what will create success for you as an Asian American is very hard, and a lot of that is speaking like an American or speaking.
I find myself going the reverse. So I grew up mostly with Caucasian Americans, and I really did not even immerse myself in the Asian culture until the last 5 years with the Vietnamese community. And so when I'm with them and they speak, Vanglish or whatever, I feel like I had to do the same thing to fit in. Otherwise, because I don't really quite fit in there either, right? So I have to like speak Vietnamese a certain way, speak English a certain way to sound more like, like the nail shop ladies. And it's not to make fun of them, but it's just somehow then they don't feel like, oh, she's American.
So right? It's like what Michael's saying, there's a bit of code switching.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm like a poser constantly.
You're an outsider for sure, like all of us, I guess.
The in-group versus out-group kind of dynamic. Do you belong or you don't belong? That's definitely very prevalent in our community, and like not feeling like you belong in either, for sure. I definitely feel that. I did want to kind of mention with Esther's point, as far as like when you're covered with your mask and you can't see you're smiling. What I do, and this happens all the time at the grocery store, and I'm like, hi, I do hand waving because I did bicycling. So I'm like, hi, like this, like Illy or this, a very just hand waving or like gestures. I think that's helpful. Like
yes.
this feels very like welcoming, like not like get out of my way. Like,
we've turned into mimes, right? Because when I walk my dogs and the neighbors, and usually I smile at them, but I realize I'm like, they're not seeing it. So now I'm like, hi. hi, like this, like extreme. It's crazy. But you have to do these things. Yes, like turn into a mime, pretty much.
Like trying to sound nicer, my voice gets higher and higher and so sweet because I'm trying so hard to show you that I want to be nice.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
interesting, and I vocal quality. And I think I was trying to try me about this not that long ago. Vocal quality is definitely something you can train in and make yourself more approachable. Is it on the priority list for many people? Not really.
No.
And I think sometimes vocal quality overrides the need to reshape your vowels to sound more, for lack of a better phrase, professional. Right? If you speak with authority, it doesn't really matter what language you're speaking in. It could be sign language. It can be, as long as you're speaking with some kind of gusto, flavor, spice behind it. I think people will listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michael. Oh, actually, I want to say hi to our Create TV audience. They are out there watching us live. Hi, Create TV. We're always so excited to be on live TV because it helps share our narrative with the rest of the world, right? Yeah.
I just want to quickly read out some couple of things in chat here on Twitch. Leanna Nell said, I remember when I was talking to a customer in the Midwest, and they meant it as a compliment when they said that I spoke like a regular Caucasian.
Wow.
And that's the thing, right? Some people don't know the filter isn't quite there. That what they're saying is harmful or like a backhanded compliment, right?
Yeah, I get the whole like, besides my looks, right? But they do that all the time. But yeah, they do that. Oh, you don't speak with an accent, or with as in regards to my looks, they'll say,
sure.
Are you whatever it is? And I'm like, no, I'm Vietnamese. They're like, but you're so pretty. I'm like,
what?
Wow.
yeah, so I'm not sure what to say. And so I'm like, thank you. In the past, I would say thank you because I'm like, that's what you say when people compliment you. And then later, I just kind of look at them. Now I just stare. Like,
next time you get approached by that, you go, "Hello, governor. Hello. Where's your accent?" Wow, you speak amazing without an accent.
Saying you're so pretty for a white girl. No one's ever gonna say that.
No. Maybe we should flip it around. Like as soon as whoever say that to us, we should say it back. Like, oh, you're so pretty for a white man, or you're so pretty for a Chinese man.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. Like if someone white came up to me like, "Wow, you speak without an accent," I'm like, "Hey, so do you." And they're like, what do you mean? And then be like, well, like herka-durka-durka-durk.
Cassie, I saw a comment earlier from from Max, I'm assuming. He said, this is a wonderful conversation to sit and listen in on as a Turkish dude who is not from here and is consistently assumed white. Yeah, like here in America, we kind of have a unique situation, at least in the Bay Area. There's so many minorities mixed together. But I noticed, like, if I go to Hong Kong, no one's going to talk about this Asian American experience. I was in Ireland for 6 months. It wasn't like that there.
Yeah, no. Well, and that's kind of like the thing. I don't know if you guys had tuned into any of the talk when Parasite won the Korean film.
Yeah.
People here, Asian Americans here, were kind of in rally of when they announced who the cast was going to be for the series, and they're like, "Oh, whitewash, blah blah blah," but the director is Korean, and in Korea there is no lack of representation for Asians, and so it doesn't matter to him. It's not a big deal. So it's interesting to see like that ocean, the Pacific. Pacific Ocean is huge, but how that can separate so much of how you dictate your decisions. It's insane.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I definitely think that representation, though, in film and media is an exciting point right now. Last year with Crazy Rich Asians, this year, I think it was last year. Was it last year? Was that 10 years ago? When was that?
I don't know anymore.
In the year 2000.
Time doesn't matter anymore.
But also on Netflix right now, streaming the half of it,
Oh, I heard of it. I haven't seen it
Alice
yet.
I love
Wu's.
that movie so much.
It's so cute. It's so good. I love romantic comedies, so I'm just like I'm in, you know.
Yeah.
And like I was tweeting. I was on the tweet party with Alice Wu, the director, the Bay Area native. But yeah, just seeing on all this and Parasite, their win, their huge win, the representation on American media. Well, it's called because it's American media, which influences global media, is huge for me, and huge for me just to see myself kind of sort of myself represented on TV on the screen or whatever. Even though I'm not, I don't see a Vietnamese American, right? A gay Vietnamese, drag queen. I don't see that, but I see, I see these beautiful characters, these beautiful stories, these beautiful narratives. Even like the half of it, a queer Asian American woman, woman lead. That's kind of a huge deal. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh my God, yes.
What I also love so much about that movie is, when you see these main characters together, you expect like, oh, the girl, this Asian girl is gonna fall for this white boy, obviously.
Right.
I don't want to spoil it, but that is so not what happens. And the way that that what's the guy's name? Sorry, what is his name? I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to call him the white boy.
The white boy.
It's the white boy, Paul. His name is Paul, the character.
Brad.
Well,
Brad. No.
the way he responds to her, the main character, when she is honest about who she is and what her motivation is for the entire movie. At first, he's shocked, confused, angry, but then he turns around and accepts her in such a beautiful way and then supports her. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful picture of what could be happening here in the Bay Area, where we have voices,
So once again, for the people in the channel, what was the title of this? It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, the half of it.
The half of it. Okay, I know I saw the thumbnail. Yeah, for sure.
Don't spoil it, Esther.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen it twice. So
Dang.
and the good thing about and I want to bring in like the church element because
Sure.
like in his initial reaction is like, yo, that's wrong, kind of like, and like and as a queer person, I mean, I didn't grow up in the church, but I know like the church has like a big, I mean, I'm from Texas, so like even though I'm not from, like I didn't grow up going to church all the time, but I knew that feel. And I feel that like you're an abomination or like that's wrong, that goes against God. That kind of,
God is designed for you to love this way. He has better plans for you.
Yeah, it's that messaging is definitely there. And so I'm so glad that movie kind of addresses that. And there's a hilarious scene at the end. We won't spoiler. No spoilers,
I'm like, come on, we gotta mute these guys, Totsi. Come on.
Well, would you say within that messaging, even if it's even if it's from the other side, shall we say, that you feel represented in that sense, because it's also part of your life, even though it's not coming from a character that looks like you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely, like
I guess that narrative, right?
Yeah, and if I were to sort of kind of relate it to my upbringing, sort of like in Asian culture, being queer is kind of no or taboo, and not really talked about, and so like the fact that I'm so vocal about it is because it's taken many years to get to this point. But like I'll just say that like when I see that represented in a film, and I'm like, and the fact that the character, the queer Asian lead, like overcomes that, that's really an amazing feeling and a triumphant feeling, and it feels real. It doesn't feel like fake. So there's sometimes it can feel fake, like, sure, oh, that's fantasy, right? But in this film, it feels real. That narrative feels real to me.
Well, that's great.
I can't wait to see it.
I think that's kind of the nice for now, right? Because you know how it is with companies that grow too big. It's the nice thing with Netflix, right? They take they're able to take some of these risks and hire writers who probably aren't in fashion in Hollywood at the moment, right? And I don't know the inner workings, but I have an idea. Usually, when a script is written, sometimes they'll hire new script writers to like redo the script. So I'm hoping, because you feel like this is a story that really stands out, that they've given a writer this like, chance to share the story. That's amazing. It's really
As I
amazing.
understand it, Netflix, I met someone who works for Netflix. They're saying they're targeting the Asian market right now. And so you're seeing more Asian storylines, Asian things coming on screen.
Now, is that here in the U.S. specifically? Because I know in different regions they have different programming.
Right, in the U.S. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they do that. Well, it's recognizing, look, we're here, we're not leaving, and we're doing good stuff, right?
Yes, I think so. I mean, just the fact that you guys are here and we're all having this conversation, I think is indicative of a lot of the changes.
This is freedom, right? So, okay,
Can't stop the signal.
Yes. I'm going to ask you guys, what is your first world problem at the moment? First world problem.
Oh, go ahead, Esther.
Oh, okay. This is such a first world problem. Okay. So I have been using a language learning app called Pimsleur, and I like to play it in my car, but so I'm using it to learn Spanish, by the way. And so a lot of the times they'll say an English phrase and then you translate it in Spanish. But there is such a delay with my phone Bluetooth to my car Bluetooth that when I pause it, it keeps going for a couple seconds. And I always have to rewind a little bit so I don't give myself the answer. And it's such a back and forth. And I'm trying to drive safely. And yeah, it's my first world problem.
First world problems. We need a theme song, Jazz.
Yes, Tasha, work on that.
Any musicians in the channel want to write us our first world problem?
Esther is.
But you know what? You know, we say it like that, but it's Esther, I just want to say, like, it's valid. This is the world we live in. So I think, yes, we call it first world problems, but I think it affects the way we function in some way. Right? So totally valid. Chat, don't feel bad if we're not first world problem shaming. We're sharing.
Only mask shaming today. We're only mask shaming.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael?
I ran out of meat, and so I had to go grocery shopping for some more meat. That's kind of a first world problem.
So you don't have a freezer full of meat like all the Asian households?
I mean, there is stuff in there, but I'm like, do I want to cook it? I have fresh meat, he
wants fresh meat.
I know that's a first world problem, but for sure. Because I always I'm kind of starting to obsess on these recipes and stuff. So I'm like, ooh, I want to do this recipe, that recipe, and it calls for this certain cut of meat, and it's Memorial Day weekend, so I want to do burgers and by myself, who cares, man? Or steaks. Ooh, a steak,
Yeah.
To be honest, if you ate less meat, it'd be better for the world, So,
right.
Maybe
I'll look these veggie burgers. They're really good. It's called, what is it?
Impossible
Impossible
burgers.
Something. Yeah. Famous. Maybe that's the brand.
There's a couple of brands now, right?
Yeah.
Beyond
it's really
meat.
good. Beyond Meat. It's really good.
Yeah.
What about you, Tassi? What's your first world problem?
I think it's that my first world problem is that my internet goes down every once in a while, and I have no idea why. And Comcast is hard to get a hold of, and that's I mean, I think right now that's my first world problem is my router is right behind that record, and sometimes I get real angry at that router, Mr. Router. It'll just go down at the most inopportune moments, and then when in the time that it takes to cycle it back, I am then put to a place where I'm like, I'm just present now. So I guess it's a pro and con, but
yeah. My issues, I got a new laptop, a Mac Pro thing, and now they have a USB 2 whatever. So all of my things that I bought, remember this, Tassi?
I do. Yeah.
Right? He made me buy this thing.
I didn't make you buy
it. It's this thing. So it doesn't work with my laptop. So now I have to buy all these freaking new connectors because the old USB, whatever this is, ABC 1, 2, 3, I have no idea. It doesn't fit in the new Mac. So now nothing works. Nothing.
2020, buy new dongles. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us today. It's almost 11 o'clock. I want to go
Wow.
to the farmer's market. I want to go to Monterey. Am I allowed? I don't know. I should. I'm not going to Monterey. I'm not leaving the county if that's illegal.
So how about we open a one last question, and this is
Okay.
for chat.
All
Whoever's in the
right.
chat room right now, 11 a.m. Saturday. What would you be doing had shelter in place not been in place? While we're waiting, what about you guys here in the call? What would you be doing right now? Ideally.
I think I would be having brunch with
Mhm.
mimosas outside,
Mm.
and maybe going for like a nice walk in the Castro,
Mm.
catching up with friends, hugging
You know
friends.
what?
Mm.
Hugging. I haven't hugged a person for like over 2 months now.
Oh my
It's
god.
Aw.
very
Yeah.
strange.
Virtual hug from Michael.
Virtual
Yeah, virtual
hugs.
hugs.
It feels weird. It feels very weird.
Wow.
Physical contact, right?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
tossing a frisbee. I play ultimate frisbee with friends, and
That's
I
cool.
I haven't played frisbee in so long, so I kind of miss it. Just running around, being outside, and enjoying the day.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Esther?
Honestly, I can't say that much different except if I have a friend to hang out with,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
I would. And I would hug them. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
these hugs.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I'm a little in between Michael and Esther. I think it's like if there's an outdoor activity, I would have probably be out there right now. But for the most part, I think I would just be sleeping in, which I guess you could do regardless of
Anytime.
any time. But there's the well, if I get up now, I can walk outside. There's that mental shift, I guess. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
Me, I think I'm kind of like you, Tassi. I'd be like doing nothing anyways. I enjoy doing nothing. I enjoy staying home. So actually, this thing it's really enjoyable for me. I hate to admit it.
In the bathroom.
Yeah, right. I mean, I literally did my laundry of 2 months yesterday.
Damn.
And yes, and it was all like t-shirts, like no bra. It was kind of crazy. Like it was just like I kind of like it, this life, this.
Hey,
So
you get
I
to
don't know.
experience the other
Careful
side.
what you ask for, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like to have the option of being out if I wanted to be, like
I th-
having brunch, right?
I think option, that's the word, right? Yeah. So Hill Barn Theater says, easy, playing board games with my buddies. Oh.
So
Lionel says, heading
I
to
love
hot.
Hill Barn, by the way. You guys are so good. Like, how do you just come up with words that rhyme? Like in a second, even we can't even say big words. Like we're like using words like stuff today. How do they do that?
It's practice. It's practice.
Is it
Yeah.
improv? Do they do improv a lot? I guess, yeah. I
Well,
did Endgames improv,
So
so
good.
that was
Yeah,
fun.
they're so good.
Yeah,
You guys have to follow them. Hill Barn.
Yeah, they're in the channel right now. I help run their trivia nights every Wednesdays. 5:30 to 6:30 is family friendly, and then 9 to 10 is a little more. But they're lovely folks.
And I'm in love with Jeffrey Lowe, right? So I think he knows that because I'm like, I love you. on the chat, I'm like, I love you.
Yeah, J Lo is dope. Let me keep reading here. Lionel said, heading to hot hula dance class. That's one way to get your weekend started for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, Michael, you're going to do a show for Chopsticks Alley going forward, right? Every second Thursday at 7
Yeah, 7 p.m. Yeah,
You're
I like
going to
that.
do Juicy Thoughts.
Juicy Thoughts. Yeah, I'm gonna take
Thoughts.
my monthly drag show that I would normally have in person at the Castro and try to bring on some guests in the queer, trans, Southeast Asian community. Just kind of talk about stuff and maybe see some performances. We had amazing guests, Mocha Papalate and Tracy Nguyen, filmmaker, producer. But there's a ton in our community, and I would love to share our community with the broader Chopsticks Alley audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Chopsticks Alley, we started this series, the lecture series, so it's not not too twitchy, but it's about the sharing arts and culture, And it's so exciting. Yesterday, whatever, Wednesday, I don't know what day it was. Wednesday, we had a show, and it was with Dr. Michael Van, and he talked about cholera in Vietnam, Hanoi during French colonial rule. And then, so coming up, and we're chatting right now, and we're wooing this amazing lecturer who will be talking about dress, how your clothes and politics go into it with the Asian, like in Burma, I think she's going to talk about that. So just really interesting topics. Yeah. What are you up to, Esther?
Today?
Or no, like what? Do you have anything to share with the audience? I know you're a singer-songwriter. Follow her on Spotify. She's so good.
Yeah, her link is in the channel along with Juicy's.
To be very honest, I feel like the one thing I guilt myself about, everything has a thing. Everyone has a thing where during shelter in place, they're like, oh, I should be doing this, but I'm not. My thing is putting my time into music. I haven't been writing as much as I thought I would. I think because I need life to give me juice to write on.
Sure, write what you know, right?
Yeah, like I'm really just kind of like chilling out, reading a lot of novels right now, but not really writing as much. But I guess what I am rediscovering is just like making music for the people I love. So my grandma, she wants me to send her recordings of me playing church songs, which I'm very happy to do. Last night, some of my housemates, we had sort of like a night where they introduced me to kava and the whole ritual.
That's
yeah.
What's that?
It's like a root. I don't want to say juice, but it numbs you.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing, though. It's like really amazing to witness. There's like a whole. Anyway, you guys can YouTube that. Yeah.
Part of the religion? What?
No, it's kind of, it has some psychotropic feeling sometimes, some elements. It's just a nice tea. You might get a little bit of a buzz, but not like
sure.
Nice. Yeah, hey, Esther, hook me up.
Yeah,
hook me up, Esther.
It's so rich. I think at some point, like someone should talk more about it because the story behind it and the practice of it, anyway, also includes kind of playing music between the serving the kava. So my housemate, he asked me to do that, and so he and his daughter and I were singing along, and I was like, it's so nice to just relax, not feel pressure to create, but just enjoy being able to play music and sing, which we all do. So that's
as a human, absolutely.
As a person, we all have that instrument in us. We can use it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Before we wrap up, I just want to quickly say thank you guys for being here. 1, sharing your time with us this morning. 2, if you're out there watching, 2:00 Zumba class on twitch.tv/Dragon Theater. There'll be a link in the Twitch channel. Be sure to follow our arts family throughout the Bay. We'll put a link down in the channel. So if you're on Facebook, we'll try to put it there. If you're watching on Create TV, you'll just have to take a picture or something. I'm not sure what to tell you. But yeah. Trammy?
Yeah. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We have folks watching on Facebook, on Twitch, on Create TV, everywhere. And we're excited to have you. And we look forward to having you again next week when we come back with, Twitch is just really a fun platform. If you've never tried it, it's twitch.tv. And then you can check out all these different channels, So we're all about sharing virtual things that are fun for you to do. And I hope you enjoy your day today. It's sunny outside. Go to the farmer's market, but put your mask on. I'm about the mask, and I will mask shame you. All right. So thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you, Michael and Esther, for joining us, and Tassi for always making the show really fun and pretty for us.
And we do have a video on the way out. No barriers.
Thanks for having us.
Sounds good. Oh yeah. So the video is about a Filipina artist who at the time was only 16, 15 years old, and she has autism, and she does amazing artwork, and we have had the chance to feature her last year. So you get to see a little glimpse of that.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you in the next one.
No Barriers title was actually created by Create TV. They wanted us to put together this exhibit with that title because they don't believe in any barriers when it comes to storytelling.
Everyone comes here with a story and everyone has a story to tell. So we're just super excited to have Trami and Chopsticks Alley here, creating an opportunity to have Allie's story be told, you know, and just to inspire others and making our space feel a bit more creative.
So Alley is third generation Filipina American. We believe that art is one of the most effective tools for both expression and communication, and Alley does that.
She's overcome many barriers throughout her 15 years. She works extremely hard in school, outside of school, in her therapy, speech, language, social skills group, and just to be able to do some of the things that many of us take for granted. It has allowed Alley to communicate and express herself with her boundless imagination. And we hope you enjoy the exhibit, as well as I believe there's going to be some special performances by spoken word poets, Christina Robertson and Chris Loxian.
So Christina and I met through the poetry slam circuit a while back, and we had done a lot of competing in poetry slams and then forming teams. And you're trying to think of ideas, and so you look for like-minded people and what you might be able to do or write about.
It's really been eye-opening to see a huge amount of work in the process of putting together this exhibit, and it's just been a lot of work, I can tell, and it's amazing.
So regardless of age or ability, art can help us transcend life's adversities. Our imaginations are boundless, so too is art. And we seek to build bridges and open doors to artists with all abilities.